Hey there, interwebs, and welcome back to Flagshaming. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, which feels appropriate since at this point in history we're up to the Civil War. Speaking of, number 36, Nevada. Ugh, it's like they heard half the states are going with an SOS and decided to jump on the bandwagon without ever seeing one and only having it described badly over the phone. That's a weirdly light shade of blue, -1, and they put the seal in the wrong spot. It's both an SOS and not even visually consistent with the other SOSs. Double shame! Actually, that's thankfully not the state seal, though it's still a bit complex with its sagebrush wreath and banner with words on, and the name Nevada hidden in there isn't helping matters. Sagebrush is the state flower, and the words on the banner are Battleborn, referring to the fact that Nevada gained statehood during the Civil War. The silver star represents Nevada, the silver state, and that silver combined with the gold of the banner represents the state's wealth of precious metals. That's actually some good symbolism all around, and thanks for toning it down from the original flag. In between the original flag and the current one, they used this, which looks very similar, but the state name is wrapped around the star, not just written underneath. The N is at the tippy top to stand for North, who they sided with during the Civil War. For my redesign, I made the hoist side white and the fly side yellow, which in the world of heraldic tinctures are silver and gold, respectively. The crimson of the star represents the bloodshed of the Civil War when Nevada gained statehood, or was born, as they put it. The N obviously stands for Nevada, but can also subtly stand for North. It's white, or rather silver, not only because it stands out better than yellow against the star, but also because Nevada is the silver state. Number 37, Nebraska. Nebraska is another one of the 5 state flags to narrowly avoid being a complete SOS. It's still a solid color blue field, -1, and the state seal has the words included, but they exercised a modicum of restraint and used a limited color palette, so that's not technically the state seal. The 2001 NAVA survey I keep bringing up named the Barnes flag the worst of all 72, but Georgia has since gotten a new flag. Nebraska was second to last, and they haven't changed, making their current design the worst of all of them. Shame! Geography fun fact. Nebraska is the most centrally located of all the states because unlike any other state, you have to go through at least 2 to get out of the country. As my dad, a Nebraskan expat, puts it, it's middle of nowhere, USA. It's also the only triply landlocked state. You'd have to go through at least 3 other states or 2 states in another country to reach an ocean. Because of this, my redesign is 3 concentric fields of red, white, and blue. The red and white represent both the natives and European settlers who coexisted there in war and in peace, and the blue represents Nebraska's many rivers. It's specifically cornflower blue because Nebraska is the Cornhusker state, and yes, I'm aware cornflower isn't a flower that grows on corn, no need to correct me. Because of Nebraska's nickname, the central symbol is a stylized ear of corn, showing 37 kernels for the 37th state. The 13 gold ones in the middle represent the 13 colonies. The red bars form an equal sign for the state motto, equality before the law. Number 38, Colorado. Okay, you got 3 guesses what the C stands for, and the first 2 don't count. The golden disc represents the sun, and red represents the ruddy earth, and the white and blue stripes symbolize the snowy mountains against the blue skies. This flag is a good example of how to successfully break a rule of flag design. Number 4 is no lettering or seals, but that C is a very distinctive and attractive feature. Additionally, Colorado is known as the Centennial State because they gained statehood in 1876, 100 years after America declared independence, and the Roman numeral for 100 is C, but I don't think that symbolism was intentional. In Colorado, you are so lucky you've got a good flag, because otherwise you're only getting 1 redesign. Number 39, North Dakota. First of all, what is that aspect ratio? 26:33? Why? According to its legal description, it must be 4 foot 4 inches tall by 5 foot 6 inches wide, because this was the size and shape of the North Dakota Infantry's regimental flag in the Spanish-American War and the Philippine conflict. In fact, this flag is identical to that one in every way, with the exception of the addition of that scroll with North Dakota at the bottom. It's tempting to call this yet another SOS and be done with it, but that's not the state seal. It's just a generic American eagle, because America! They had the same problem as Illinois and used the same terrible solution. At least they didn't use a white background, they used a blue one, -1. On the other talon, Illinois actually used their state seal. North Dakota could have done an SOS, but found an even lazier alternative. This has to be the most uninspired flag we've looked at so far. It's not the worst, no, the Barnes flag still takes that prize. It's just the least original, and it's still pretty damn bad. Shame! This gives me nothing to work with for my redesign, but that's okay, because as I was researching this flag, I discovered the flag of the governor of North Dakota, which is way cooler. Because this flag actually has some redeeming elements, I'm going to use that as my base, and I'm not alone. If you just Google image search North Dakota flag redesign, you'll get a lot of results from people with the same idea. I won't go over the whole thing here, but the green and gold symbolize the agricultural wealth of grain and graze. Traditionally, escutcheons are shields, but North Dakota did something relatively clever and made it an inverted stone arrowhead to symbolize their status as the Sioux state. The fleur-de-lis symbolizes the fact that they were part of the Louisiana Purchase, and therefore France. The 3 stars in bend represent the 3 bodies of government, as well as the 3 national flags flown over the territory. In addition to the US and France, part of the area once belonged to Rupert's Land, and thus the UK. This flag's proportions are 10:19, which I have to assume is in reference to the national flag. For my redesign, I went with a much more common and sensible 3-5. I put the green band on a gold field and charged it with the arrowhead, fleur-de-lis, and star to represent the 3 major groups to inhabit the region: Sioux, French, and American. Sorry, Britain, but not today. Number 40. South Dakota. The crappiness of this flag is best illustrated by showing you the flag while reading aloud its Wikipedia intro paragraph. Quote, "The flag of the state of South Dakota, the sun represents the common weather in South Dakota, period. Represents the U.S. state of South Dakota with a field of sky blue charged with a version, parenthetical, in navy blue on white, of the state seal in the center, comma, surrounded by gold triangles representing the sun's rays, comma, surrounded in turn by inscriptions in gold sans serif capitals of, quote, South Dakota, unquote, on top, and, quote, the Mount Rushmore state, unquote, parenthetical, the state nickname, on the bottom. The inscription on the bottom was, quote, the Sunshine State, unquote, before it was changed in 1992, unquote. South Dakota, your flag sucks and so does its Wikipedia page. Shame! It's also the 3rd flag to use the state seal, words and all, but that's not a solid color field. It's worse. Normally at this point I'd tell you about the symbolism of the state seal, but I really can't be bothered since it has no bearing on my redesign. This was the flag from 1909 to 1963, and although it's still got too much writing, it's still better than what they've got. Never changed that blue field though, -1. Here's my redesign. You were the Sunshine State, now you're the Mount Rushmore State. You had one on your flag, then the other. I'm letting you keep both. This is probably the most pictorial flag I've designed so far, and it's a stylized image of the sun partly behind Mount Rushmore. The transition from Sunshine State to Mount Rushmore State is represented here by Mount Rushmore literally eclipsing the sunshine. I had to put my astronomer hat on to ensure that the sun could be behind the heads at some point in the day or year, and happily they face southeast, so this flag can be spotted in the wild on a late summer afternoon. The blue of the sky represents liberty, the white represents purity, and the black represents strength, as well as the fact that black is a cool color that needs to be used on more flags. The Dakotas bring an end to this video, and if you want to discuss any of the redesigns, there's a link to the subreddit in the description, along with a link to my Twitter. See you next weekend, and if you're also a How Fascinating viewer, this Wednesday. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. The C stands for cannabis.